get that 50% plus one vote. He still gets 43%. In fact, in a runoff, he drops by 0.5 percentage point. Kennedy Ohineye-Ajaapong maintains or also drops by 0.3% to 25%. Dr. Bawumia, 43%. We still have that 32.4% of the delegates who actually participated in this poll still remaining undecided, also in the runoff survey.
And many are beginning to draw the possibilities and scenarios. How many do we have so far, and what are the likely impacts?
So we are looking at the trend actually from June, when this poll actually started, to what we have October 11. And if you see Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, his fortunes actually dwindles by a significant portion. We are looking at from September 5th, he was around 48.8%. That was his popularity gauge. Fast forward 10 days later, September 10th, he drops from that 48.8% to 44.9%. And the current survey, which is October 11th, 43.5%. Kennedy Ohineye-Ajaapong, on the other hand, September 5th, he was at 21.2%, dropped slightly, in fact, significantly to 18.4%, and improved significantly from that 18.4% on September 10 to now 23.5%. So the gap keeps closing.
Isaac, stay with me. Joining us now is Musa Dankwa, who is the Executive Director of Global Info Analytics, in studio with me. And, of course, we're just learning of the figures as they come through right now through your report. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on Top Story. Let's talk about the popularity of the distribution of the candidates at the regional level. What's your polling revealing to us now?
It's quite interesting if you look at the regional breakdown of the polls. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is doing extremely well in the northern part of the country. It's averaging around 74%. Kennedy on 10%. Now, when you come to the south, Kennedy is leading in Ashanti region right now, 39% to 33%. He's leading by huge margin in the central region, 59% to 22%, I think. And then in Eastern region, Bawumia is doing very well, 49% to Kennedy's 15%. In OT, it's a dead heat in OT. And in voter region, Bawumia is also leading in voter region. In Western region, it's a tie in central region. So you could see that the race quite differ from the swing regions, from the voter and OT block and northern sector. And I think the overall effect of what we are seeing is that Kennedy's poor performance in the northern sector is what has kind of led him to being that low in the race. But it is very important to note that the huge number of people who said they won't disclose to us, they are anti-establishment, 14%. They were like that when Alan was in the race, and when Alan withdrew, the number wobbled a bit, but it still remained high. And we believe that they will break heavily towards Kennedy.
Interesting revelations you're putting up there. And that's why we're also paying attention to the fortunes of the vice president. His popularity appears to be dropping significantly. What's influencing that? I mean, looking at the fact that, a significant population and now the disgruntled members of the party, and what's likely to be the impact on his popularity going into the polling itself, because in politics, even a day is worth looking at and looking at how fast the figures could change. Could anything change for the vice president?
If you look at how he performed post the superdelegate, he went up quite significantly. That was the bump he got from the superdelegate polls. And then when Alan withdrew, rather than seeing him going up in the poll, he rather lost some grounds when Alan withdrew. And a lot of the people who were backing Alan had gone into the undecided, and then I will not disclose. But if you look at the trend over the period, he appears to be on downward slope. And you need to stop that downward slope before the elections. If by next week he is falling below 40%, that he could be in trouble.
Which means that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia would have to do a lot more in securing that 50 plus 1, which he crucially needs to be in a comfortable lead to lead the New Patriotic Party going into the 2024 presidential elections. Undecided population appears to be higher in terms of the demographics that we're looking at this moment. Is the reason for which we're getting more reactions to this. I want to bring in Sami Oko's campaign spokesman for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia joining the conversation. Dr. Prince Amuzo is campaign spokesperson for the Free Koto camp. George Adoentry is campaign spokesman for Adaimo. All three going into the contest on the lines now. Sami Oko, thank you for joining us on Top Story, and I'm just wondering what your candidate might be thinking now, and you as the strategist for Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia deploying in the very final lap going into the presidential race of the NPP. First off, are you surprised about the outcome? The fact that all your contenders appear to be inching up closer and closer to your candidate. What does it suggest to you?
Evening to your cherished listeners. I'm not too sure which group of people that this global info analytics interviews. But let me first of all draw you back a bit. Global info analytics ahead of the August 26th elections. If you can have Musa back on the line, you can ask him what was his prediction for the vice president.
Well, he's right here. He's right here with us.
No, Musa. So if Musa, I just want us, you cannot just come say things and just leave. Can you tell us what their prediction was ahead of August 26th, respectfully? They predicted the vice president was getting less than 50%.
Yeah, Musa, you want to come through? Just make the point for us.
Because I have everything properly analyzed. I want to be putting
any polls on a super delegate.
Sami, you might want to hold on just to listen briefly to that response.
Please, we did not conduct any poll of super delegate. We did not. We conducted a poll among Ghanaians and also among MPP delegates before the super delegate. And you can't compare the polling station executive polls to super delegate polls. So those are two different things.
So it's Musa saying that they didn't come up with any polling ahead of August 26th. Is that what he's saying? Which was in the public domain, which was published by them. They predicted the vice president was not going to get anything below 50%.
I still want to correct him.
Let me even go into the substantive matter.
Okay.
We do not believe for a second that the candidate's popularity is going down. And never, any polls that predict the vice president will get less than 75% on the 4th of November, trust me, it's not an incredible poll. You can mark it on the line. And a week from now, we will have this interview. Because we've done our homework well. We have campaigned across the country. The candidate's message of unity, the candidate's message of bringing the party people together, keeping an eye on the ball, and ensuring that the NPP retains power in 2024 is still real and kicking. The man's popularity place from place is at an all-time high. If you tell me that after the Honorable Alan Martin pulled out from the race and went independent, instead of the vice president's popularity surging, is gone down, that even by simple analysis cannot even be weighed properly. Why do I say that? You've had key members of the Honorable Alan Martin's campaign team openly defecting. Let me even use a better word. Openly declaring their support for the vice president. And then again, also their preparedness and willingness to even get to the ground to even campaign. If this does not add any votes at all, even the people you have heard them speak and heard them campaign, who were hitherto supporting the Honorable Alan Martin, should be adding votes and not decreasing. Again, let me also set the record straight.
But Sami, if you make that point, apologies for coming through at this point, but if you make that point, you would not be entirely correct, given the fact that the research points that these groups of people remain undecided. A significant population, 18 plus percentage points is what the research is pointing to.
We do not believe that. We clearly believe that, and I can tell you, with the work we have done on the ground, with the research we have done, with the polling we have done, and mind you, this is a man of figures, a man of data, and a man of analysis. We entered into this race clearly knowing our red, our yellow, and our green. As we speak today, I can tell you that we are working towards a 75-80% win on November 4th. And Evans, I'll be surprised to see the Vice President get anything below 75%. That I can tell you.
Well, blessed here, by the way. And just to point out the issue about your closest contender, Mr. Kennedy Ohene Ejapong, he seems to be sweeping in deep into the Ashanti regional votes. And cumulatively, you're looking at a projection of 23.5% per this, polls that we're doing before the elections. Are you not worried that you're likely to have a leading figure of the NPP who does not have his base strongly entrenched in the Ashanti region? That's disastrous for many who know the NPP so well.
What was the figure chalked by Dr. Baumia on the 26th of August? It was in excess of 80%. So how deep can it get at the heart of Ashanti, at the heart of our party? A candidate who doesn't hail from the south, doesn't hail from the middle belt, and of northern extraction, wins all the 16 regions of our delegates at the super delegate level. And I can tell you that we are also poised and working so hard, but we have set a target for ourselves. I don't know the target that Global Info Analytics they have set for themselves. But for us, as a team and as a campaign machinery, we are working towards a 75 to 80%.
I see.
With some margin of error. But I can tell you, any polling that for me puts Dr. Baumia below 75%, I will not treat that poll seriously, really.
You say once more, and Sami, you say once more that this is based on?
I said based on our own polling, our own analysis. And we don't just do analysis. Dr. Baumia himself is a very deep thinker and an analytical person, a man with data and a man of data. So we won't just throw out things when we are not too sure about it. But I can tell you, we are working so hard. We are winning on November 4th. We are not going for a small margin victory. We are cruising to an overwhelming victory. And we have worked so hard, and we believe the delegates of our party, they've listened to the man's message. They watched the man's demeanor, his loyalty to the party, his sacrifices to the party. The man has supported his boss through thick and thin. And at no point in time did he throw his boss under the bus. His party, right or wrong, he stood by the tradition. When it mattered most, he elected himself to represent all of us. For 8 months, he was grilled by the NDC's ruthless legal machinery. And he still came out with his integrity, composure and everything intact. So I believe we know the message you have sold to our party delegate on the basis of loyalty, sacrifice, love, and vision. He comes to the table with his own vision, sets of ideas for the party. And I can tell you that we are working towards a 75-80% victory.
I see. Quite an ambitious task there. But I mean, you'd have to hold on
we
for
have
us.
people who have dedicated themselves to work towards this ambitious task.
See,
you'd have to. This is a team, no sleep.
Just hold for us briefly, because there are so many more individuals joining the conversation.
That's
Dr. Prince Moses, campaign spokesperson for the Efrie Kutu campaign. George Adu Entry also speaks for a Dynamo. And just before I bring them in, per the breakdown of the analysis that we're doing in partnership with Global Info Analytics, the regional breakdown of the figures is giving an inkling that Dr. Mahmoud Baumia would have to, at some point, lean on the support base of either of these candidates to sail through to the next stage of becoming the eventual winner. Of course, Sami disputes that, but let's look at the regional breakdown before I bring in Musa Dankwa, and then we hear from the others.
We are looking at the regional breakdown of the delegates who remain and who have decided not to disclose their position and remains undecided. The Greater Accra region is leading, with the undecided side 35% and about 27% fail to disclose where they stand. Ashanti region comes second with 21% undecided and 7%
and if you look at Kennedy Ejapong's average, he's inching over 20% of the projections going to him.
Absolutely. So if you look at the Eastern region comes third, with that's the region with the population who decided not to disclose their votes more than those who decided, who remain undecided. So 13% against 9%.
I see.
We also have the Western region, 8% on both sides. Volta region 9% and 6%. So if you look at the swing region,
very interesting dynamics. It's looking very tough for the vice president to have an outright win. But Samia Oku is telling us tonight that they have worked, and Musa, that's why I want to hear from you. They've worked extremely hard to secure over 70% of the votes. I've been trying to do, spread across the undecided votes plus the undisclosed votes across for each candidate. If you do 7 plus 8% on the average for each of them, the vice president would still need some support from all of the candidates, correct?
Well, yeah, I think so. But if you are looking around 9%, then it means you cross that 50% plus one.
And Musa, that's what many say. You can't have all of the undisclosed and the undecided class of people all saying none of them would support the vice president. At least we'll sail through with some 8% for the vice president then to become winner.
Yes, if you look at what we've done, we've looked at those who are saying they won't disclose to us and did some modeling to see how likely they would vote, knowing what we know about them. And for those who said undecided, how they're likely going to vote.
Yes.
Now we have two scenarios. In the most optimistic scenario that we have, vice president could win with 65% as the most optimistic model that we have.
And not the 70% projection here.
No. And then in the most realistic scenario, assuming that those 14% who said they won't tell us, they are anti-establishment, then he could win with about 58% of the vote.
And this is what I'm also looking at just before I hear from the other spokespersons, because we don't seem to be talking about them. They seem to be the underdogs, but their percentage is quite influential. If we have worst case scenario, a Dynamo and Dr. Akutuefri joining forces with Kennedy Ohene Japan on the day of the elections, what's that likely to be?
It's unlikely to have major impact because at the moment their numbers are below 1% from the poll.
I see.
Now, unless a third candidate does well, that's when they will pull down the two leading frontrunners to below 50%.
Yeah.
Once they're not doing that, the race will be a one-touch for anyone who is going to win.
Okay, let me hear from Prince, Dr. Prince Amuzu. He speaks for Dr. Akutuefri. Grateful for your time here in Top Story. And Sami, I'll come back to you. But Dr. Amuzu, the point about your candidate and how insignificant increasingly they are becoming going into the very final lap of the NPP presidential race. You feel that you can still make some strides, change something? Pull out some magic wand before the elections?
So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be part of this conversation. Grateful for your viewers as well. We hold the view that this polls and pollsters are people and we'll not do anything to encourage them. They are in their head. Except to say that many of them said we put it to the first five. But here we are in the first five. And they are not considering the nature of people and the demographics that people are going to vote in this election. But 200,000 people voting, and you have a poll of less than 5,000, and you are saying all the things you are saying, which is okay. We are not worried at all. We will encourage them, hope that they do better as they come by. The Dr. Akutuefri campaign is based on agriculture, and clearly, and it's the statistics. Many of the people in the rural area, polling stations, are directly into agriculture. That is why he's selling very. I also want to draw your attention that when we talk about the people who say they are not willing to disclose, it's because of the fear of the mini calls that are coming through to them. People telling them that they don't vote for a particular person, they will lose their position in the party, all that type of thing. So people are saying, like we say in the Akan language, it means to say that we are not going to say it. On the day they will show you who will vote for. So we are very confident that many people will despise us, they think we will not make it, but we will put a big surprise for Ghana. And the NPP party will stand tall because indeed the campaign message of Dr. Akutuefri is what is resonating with the people across the
Okay, and I see that you're drawing in his experience, having served as the Greek minister. Some say that will be put to a test again in this primaries. But I also want to hear from George Adoenchi, speaks for the Dynamo campaign. George, you're being classified as insignificant going into the race.
Hello, Blessing.
Hi, George.
Yes, great. My name is George Obin Anchi. George Obin Anchi, not Ado Anchi, just for
apologies for that.
Yeah,
but it's a good
right.
time to be talking to you. Your candidate, I believe, is a bit about the elections. What's your own projection?
Right. In the first place, let me say this. Before we had the special college election, all the polls that came didn't give Honorable Dynamo any chance. None of them, including the one who just did this one, none of them gave him any chance. But what do we have today? Today he is part of the first four. All right? So we cannot go by the poll that this man has made. We do not know who he interviewed. We're not too sure exactly what the questions are. I have not seen it, to be honest. I'm driving. I have not seen it. But let me
ask you, let me be very frank with you, a direct question.
Yes.
Giving the set of candidates you have going into the elections, would you place your bet on your own candidate? Are you sure? I mean, you're an experienced guy in the political space.
Listen, we are very certain that Honorable Dynamo will be victorious and will be the presidential candidate for the New Patriotic Party for the next general election. That we are certain. I tell you what, everyone is tired. Everyone is tired about what is happening now. People want to see new face, a new face that has a strong charisma, a new face with integrity, a new face with nobility and dignity. That is what people want to see lead the country. And the party people are very much aware. They do not want to see the party slip into opposition. And they are very much aware that as it is today, the only person in this party who can lead the party into victory in next general election is Honorable Engineer Adainimo. And so, if everybody wants to see the party win, why would they not vote for him? We are very confident that the party people will make a good choice in Honorable Adainimo.
I see, and we here at the election headquarters will bring you a 360-degree coverage of that primaries. It's the reason for which the likes of Musa are partnering us on this journey as we do a prelude to the exercise. And quite an instructive point Dr. Prince Musa is raising there. Musa, let's deal with that before I wrap up with all of them. The point about external influence or factors. Have you put that into your thoughts, and what could that be? There's a claim about, and we need to do this very quickly, the claim about, first of all, undue influence from the vice president. Some call it incumbent advantage, as it's been described here. Do you see that playing a major role in turning around the figures?
If you look at those who are, say, will not disclose, I think those ones will be for the anti-establishment candidate. But I'm not sure if a bulk of them will go to the other two. We believe that most will go to Kennedy. But in terms of who we actually interviewed, we interviewed polling station executives across all the 275 constituencies randomly. We don't profile anyone. So I think it's properly done, scientific. And I think the elections next week.
Yeah, really quickly. The point about external factors, incumbency?
Incumbency, yes. But look, the numbers Baume is racking up in the north would compensate him for the tightness of the race in the south, and that will put him over the top.
And that's Musa Dankwa joining us from Global Info Analytics, the executive director, with the latest figures. Sami, we need to go very quickly. The point about undue influence and looking forward into the race.
Ahead of the August 26th, Musa predicted a 36% win for Dr. Baumia, 33% for Canadian Japan.
Samuel Okuda is a lie.
And 24% for
Samuel Okuda is a lie.
Canadian Japan. Again, ahead of November 4th, the same Global Info Analytics predicted a 39% win for Canadian Japan and 38% for Dr. Baumia in swing regions. So look, I mean, the whole research has been muddled in confusion, but I can tell you that the best poll is going to come out next week Saturday, and any polling below 75% for Dr. Baumia is not. Thank you.
Okay, you seem to be confident about that. We're grateful. Samuel Oku, campaign spokesperson for Dr. Mahmoud Bamian. Prince Amuzu, Doc, you wish to make some concluding remarks on this?
Yes, I need to make the point, and it definitely many people cannot avail their minds to that. You see, if you have a system where the entire executive structures of the party, from regional to constituency, DCs, have been matched up to campaign for a candidate, what do you expect? There's a lot of fear in the system. People are not willing to tell you who they will vote for. I believe that 4th November will prove us right. Dr. Usu Afriakoto is the most popular among the ordinary people in the rural area. And that one will leave it to the polls.
Indeed.
The day of the election itself, not the pollsters. But I want to continue to encourage pollsters. And there are people who do the polls to continue. We need them. And it will give us good ideas and interpretation, analysis, and all that. All of that is part of politics.
Okay, Dr. Prince.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, Dr. Prince Amuzu is campaign spokesperson for Dr. Afriakoto, and also grateful to George with the Dynamo campaign for joining us. And that's it for Top Story. Next is Newsline.
Page for the new business account was in shambles yesterday. We lost the page.
Tell me about it.
We started off very confident, and then the office broadband went down. When we set up the hotspot from the phone to reconnect, the data allocation also got finished.
You are joking.
I wish. The meeting room was hot. Kobe quickly tried calling them to give us some more time, but he had no airtime. Total chaos. They also gave us feedback that our website didn't have enough information. How can you run a business this way and hope to grow?
Oh dear.
Your business communication can be way better than this. Vodafone One Business is a complete communications package that gives you broadband with data transfer to mobile phones, mobile package with free calls among employees, landline with free calls and website design plus domain name registration. At Vodafone Business, we understand that strong connections within your business lead to success. Call 050-777-9000 or sign up by sending an email to sme@vodafone.com. Vodafone, further together.
Ready? Let's go. We all go bring some savannah.
Everyone is dancing, everyone is singing, because everyone is painting with Savannah. Savannah paints from Azar are affordable enough for everybody to fulfill their paint needs. Paint more, pay less. Savannah paint, we all go paint some.
We all go paint some savannah. We all go paint some.
Live on Joy 99.7 FM, this is News Night in the next 60 minutes. Tonight, Accra High Court quashes injunction granted against Ga Manye's funeral, barring the planning committee from touching remains of the late Queen Mother and organizing the funeral.
You should ignore what we call distractions. So we had to go to court to deal with the matter once and for all. Now the order has been set aside. So there's no order anymore anywhere.
We'll get to hear from the Funeral Planning Committee plus the aggrieved family of the late Queen Mother. Tonight also it is emerging that only one property belonging to Ghana in the UK has been attached after Trafigura was awarded the $140 million judgment debt. So what were those four buildings initially attached but no longer subject to the judgment debt? We'll break it all down for you. You ought to stay with us. Also tonight, as school children continue to reel under the effect of flooding in several communities, we'll tell you the story of 18-year-old Abednego, who has turned to hawking on the streets to while away time because his school has been shut down due to the floods.
My colleagues too, some are riding motor and some are fishing in other communities. And my vision is to become an immigration officer in future. So because of this, that's why I'm going to the school. So I'm begging the government to come to our area and help us.
Also, the Sogah District Hospital has recalled staff from leave to augment staff strength in response to overwhelming numbers resulting from closure of neighboring health facilities.
We've stopped giving annual leave immediately, followed by informing those on leave to get themselves prepared towards calling whenever the issue becomes very serious.
We have business.
Ghana places strength in Africa with the largest foreign direct investments in 2021 and 2022.
And in sports, President Akufo-Addo supports Women's Premier League champion Zapem Dakwa with 500,000 cedis for CAF Champions League tournament in Ivory Coast.
And also today, Nigeria's Supreme Court has thrown out both opposition challenges to President Bola Tinubu's election win.
I agree with the reasoning and conclusion reached therein to the effect that the appeal is bereft of merit and deserves a dismissal.
And are you ready for a heaven on earth experience with the choir's edition of Adum Praise?
Adum Praise 2023, we've tagged it the choirs edition. It's the first time we are bringing together about 11 choirs under one roof to be part of a musical concert or a gospel music.
And then also we count down to the National Science and Maths Quiz finale on Monday. Achimota School hopes to clinch their third NSMQ title as they face Presec, Legon and Opokuware SHS. They have a message for Presec who have they been able to beat in any finals.
After the contest, Achimota School is going to be in prison because we are going to murder Presec and OAS.
Well, they've never been able to beat them. We'll stay for details of that and more here on Newsnight. You want to join us with your thoughts and comments as well? WhatsApp is 05511119997. We're live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra and Kumasi. We're on Love 99.5 FM affiliate across Ghana's 16 regions. We're on Facebook. We're on myjoyonline.com. Do hit us with your comments with the hashtag Newsnight. I am Emefa. Apawu details shortly. And on Saturday, we're looking forward to that grand burial and the display of culture, rich Ga traditional culture on Saturday. Well, tonight, an Accra High Court has quashed an ex parte interlocutory injunction granted against Gamanya's funeral, barring the planning committee from touching the remains of the late Queen and performing any final funeral rites. The family of the late Queen said they had been marginalized and disregarded in the processes leading to the burial, and therefore went to court seeking to halt the process until they were reinstated. We'll hear from the planning committee and, of course, the aggrieved family as well on this. But first, my colleague Michael Papani Ashali joins me in studio with details from what we're learning from the court today. So let's talk about the reasons the court gave for the ruling today.
So, Emefa, the court in delivering its ruling said the injunction application was granted in error as the applicants failed to give the court the true state of affairs. Now, presiding judge Justice Patrick Baye added that any party intending to proceed with any action must serve the other party. Now, upon reading the affidavit, this is a quote from the judgment filed by the applicants and deposed to by the first defendant and applicant, and upon hearing Ayikwe Otu, counsel for the defendants and applicants, I am of the view that the order of interim injunction granted on 25th October 2023 was made in error. The applicants failed to give the court the true state of affairs.
Well, so that's what we're learning from the court today, and already we're told that the planning committee has been celebrating their victory in the High Court today. We'll be hearing from the president of the Adangbe Council and member of the Central Planning Committee for the upcoming funeral of the late Queen Mother of the Ga State, Omar Drew III. Well, Nia Ayikwe to describe the earlier injunction as a needless distraction. He says they are happy to proceed with the funeral arrangements.
You should ignore what we call distractions. Concentrate. Okay, but yesterday something dramatic happened. We heard on the news and in the social media that the court has granted some form of injunction. We read it and we were satisfied that it had got nothing to do with what we are doing here. Lawyer, in other words, the funeral is no longer coming on. We've had people coming to sign book of condolence. we've spent so much time, money, expense, traveling. So we had to go to court today to deal with the matter once and for all. We argued against the injunction that was granted. Now, the importance of this is that the order that people are misinterpreting has been set aside. So there's no order anymore anywhere. Is that the order has been set aside, and we have every right to proceed and do what we told you we were doing.
Well, thankfully, Nia Ikweotu joins me as well on the phone. We also have lawyer Thomas Blovo. He's lawyer for the aggrieved family. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us here on Newsnight. Let me start with you, Thomas Blovo. So, listening to proceedings from the court today, the court says it appears that you did not give the court the true state of affairs. You misled the court?
No, who am I talking to? Emefa.
Nia Ikweotu, yes, you are, but I'll come to you shortly. I'm dealing with a lawyer, Blovo, first.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much. Lawyer Blovo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I was asking earlier that it appears you did not give the court the true state of affairs. In essence, you may have misled the court.
Yeah, so we have obtained an interim injunction order restraining the funeral committee from dealing with the body, touching the body of the late Queen Mother until otherwise provided by court.
But now, it appears you are late, lawyer. I'm telling you about the latest from a high court today. Are you not aware that it's been?
We are not aware of any ruling whatsoever as you lay down the foundation.
That's interesting because we've been hearing from the court, they've quashed your earlier interlocutory injunction, maintaining that you did not give them the true state of affairs, for which reason they've set aside that earlier court ruling.
Aside the fact that we are saying that we have not been notified or we have no notice of the ruling reportedly setting aside our interim injunction, we want to put it on record legally that the interim injunction confers some right on us, on the applicants. They have some interest from the court. And if you want to set aside that interest, which was conferred on them by court, the rules require that if you want to take away that particular right conferred on them, you come on notice. You must notify them. So I'm surprised. Somebody called me, your station also called me, saying that there is a ruling. Well, we have not been served, but I doubt it. Because it cannot happen.
You doubt
that? There's no rules which say so.
Okay.
That right confer on them that certain things ought not to be done. How can you set aside the right without notifying them? In any case, once the court ordered it, it becomes law. And that law confers rights on the applicants. How would you then set aside that right when the applicants are not put on notice? I am surprised. But be as it may, if it is true, I respect the ruling of the court. But we are saying that for now, we are not served. We don't know the content of the ruling. Yes.
But really, at least you mentioned that you respect the ruling of the court, be as it may. But really, the concern for many is that what really is the issue such that your clients cannot talk this out for the due process and the things that have already been planned go ahead as it is. Really, can we talk about it?
Yes, the question then comes. Yesterday I asked a very beautiful question. Who is the Ghana Traditional Council? Who is, I'm coming, I will answer the question. I'm only asking the question. Who is the Ghana Traditional Council? Who is the Funeral Committee? These are bodies of persons the disease joined in her lifetime. Aside these bodies, which she associated herself with, they are not members of her family. The concern of the family is that we don't have a thorough discussion with these people. They take decisions without our knowledge. They are planning funeral without contacting us. We have no say at all. We are putting up the burial, the tomb for the lady, the deceased Queen Mother. We are preparing a place to lay her in state. Now, how can you jump the gun and go and schedule a date and go and plan a place without informing. Somebody should tell me that he hasn't come from a family. Now, if I die, it is a group of or a body of people who decide how I will be buried and not how my family people should bury me.
Well, Thomas, but
and
as
so,
it stands now,
that is the point.
but as it stands now, Thomas, at least we have a court ruling that supersedes or overturns the earlier ruling that we've been talking about. So let's talk about the fact that you're all going to fall in line as we speak for Saturday.
As far as I'm concerned, we have not been served with any ruling. We have no notice about it. Our interim injunction still holds, and we believe that the funeral cannot come on. That is all we know.
But how can you respect the ruling of the court and still say that you go by the
I am saying, Madam, listen to me very well.
I am.
The point we are making is that we will respect the ruling of the court only when we are served with it.
Okay.
All we are hearing now is a hearsay. It's something from the grapevine.
Okay.
We have not been served. We were not notified. I have not seen it. You are only telling me. And I'm saying that the rules require that if you obtain an order, before the order will become operational, the other party must be notified. Other than that, what do you want him to do? If they think they have a ruling, they should serve us with a ruling.
Well, Nia Ikweotu is on the other line, thankfully. He will give us clarity to this. Nia Ikweotu.
He's a senior lawyer. I will listen to him.
Yes. So, Nia Ikweotu, from what we are hearing from the other side, even though you've been able to quash that earlier ruling, they are yet to be served. So, for them, the earlier interlocutory injunction stands.
I think they have a bigger problem than we do. If you go and obtain an interim injunction order to restrain me from performing a particular act, and you fail to serve me, am I not the person who will be suffering? Because I wouldn't know what you have gotten. But if I act, you may claim that you have an order. So it was for them rather to come and serve us. But they took to social media and circulated, and to use the word shared, they shared it so widely that I got copies from abroad. So when we got a copy, without even waiting to be served, we went to court because we knew that they had gone to mislead the court. And that is a question that we have put to him, and he's refusing to answer. Did they mislead the court or not? And very simple. You were members of the funeral planning committee. Then you wrote letters withdrawing from the funeral planning committee, only to turn around to say that some people are planning funerals and about to bury somebody without your knowledge and consent. Where is the logic in that? How can you withdraw yourself from something for which you are not a member? You were not a member before you wrote. Ask him if they have not showed him those letters. Withdrawing from anything having to do with the funeral committee and the planning of the burial of the old lady. Please, I beg you, ask if he is aware of those letters.
To be fair, though, Thomas Glovo, you failed to tell us whether indeed you misled the court or not. From what you know and from what you're hearing so far, at least, did you mislead the court?
I have just answered you and say that the applicants did not withdraw. They were prevented. They were sacked. They were deliberately
They were sacked? They were sacked?
Yes,
you have
they were
letters
sacked.
to that effect?
They were not given opportunity even to enter their house to house and perform right. They were stopped. And so, but my worry is not about whether or not they are stopped. But my worry, if it is true that there is a ruling setting aside the interim injunction, my very worry is that on what law? Are we not to be notified? But of course, I have not received any instruction from my client to talk about it. What I would say is that ruling itself, if indeed the judge has no jurisdiction to entertain the said application. No, even though I respect his opinion, I said he has no jurisdiction.
Okay,
How can you set aside the right?
Mr. Glovo, let's hear from Nia Ikweotu. Mr. Glovo, let's hear from Nia Ikweotu on this. You've raised a number of issues about the jurisdiction of the court, amongst others. Nia Ikweotu.
He has gotten the wrong end of the stick. There are two issues. One issue is this. They hail from a place they call Sanse. That is where the Queen Mother hails from. The house where you have the stool is called Achara Inkuleno Way. These guys are saying that they want to induct their head of family into the house of Achara Inkuleno. Now, mark my words, the prevention that is talking about is not from the Traditional Council or even the funeral committee. It is from the Achara Inkuleno family that we have our own family head, we have our family house, and we will not allow you to bring into our house any other individual claiming to be head of your family at Fafe. Asking, is that not the issue?
Well,
what has that got to do with us?
I would not want us to prosecute the entire matter here on the radio, but for some, it appears that we're all looking forward to a display of rich Ga tradition amongst others. Would you say that this particular injunction has taken anything away from the planning towards the final funeral rites of Umaru III?
Not at all. As I said, the injunction they went to secure was talking about cops. We are not talking about cops. We are talking about organizing a funeral. Anyhow we do it, it is our concern. We are dealing with royals. So we know how royals are buried. How many people see royals being buried? So we are not worried about what they are talking about. But just to assuage injured feelings, for people not to have the idea or the notion that the funeral cannot come on. That is why we went to court. Why is my letter friend talking about service? You went to court to obtain what we call an ex parte application. You went to file an ex parte application, got another without notifying us. And we are going to set it aside. And you are saying that as for you have not been notified. What is that? You were the first person to have gone for the order, asking whether he said that. He went on his own and went and told the court stories. The order. We are going to show that we will suffer greater hardship if this order is allowed to remain. Come and see what is happening at the government palace. And I believe you have seen the pictures from your reporters. The amount of money that has been spent and the work that has been done. Should all this go to waste?
Well, there's a concern that it appears there's some confusion even amongst the family of the late Queen Mother. For those of us who would have to attend, it raises concerns about our safety amongst others. Are you able to assure?
Oh, no, there's nothing about any safety. Look, we have 200 policemen here guarding everything that is going on in the palace here since yesterday. Road blocks. The Asapwachame and the Asapwanyame. Already the streets. We are displaying our culture here.
Okay.
There's nothing happening. Look, if I were you, I would advise them to rush quickly and come and join us. Because you were with us. And you said you are running away. It is not helping you. Why don't you come back?
But they insist they're being sidelined out of the public eye.
You want to go and introduce somebody into another person's house. The person says, no, we don't own the house. It is not for the Traditional Council. It is not for the football committee. Why are you blaming it on us?
Okay.
Is that the way to behave? I will get up and take my girl head of family and come and introduce him or induct him into your family and say that he's the head of your family. Is that the way things are done?
Well, Nyaikotu, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We are grateful. We also heard earlier from lawyer Thomas Glovo. He's lawyer for the aggrieved parties. And as we're hearing from the Ga Traditional Council, the president of the Ga Dangbe Council and the member of the Central Planning Committee, the funeral is coming on. And like they've earlier said, restrictions will be limited on Saturday. And there's no curfew in place today and tomorrow. And your safety, he says, is guaranteed as well. We'll stay on on issues of law, and only one Ghanaian property abroad, we are told this evening, is emerging, is currently subject to attachment as part of the judgment debt awarded in favor of Trafigura. Well, this debt follows the cancellation of the GCPC contract by the government, leading to that $140,000 million, judgment debt awarded to Trafigura. My colleague Kwekwa Santio of our legal desk joins us with details on what we are learning about this latest development. So, Kweku, first, we know that GCPC wanted 5 properties to be attached as part of the judgment debt. Tell us about how did the UK High Court rule?
Well, Emefa, if you look at this document that was filed in the High Court of Justice, Business and Properties Courts of England and Wales, that is filed by GCPC, which is the claimant and applicant in this case against the government of Ghana. They wanted 5 properties: Safe Courtly Gardens, London; 109 Millway, London; 42 Kenneth Crescent, London; and 24 Wren Avenue, London, as well as the Regina House, all to be attached as part of their arbitration claim. And in fact, if you look at the discharge order in respect of those 5 interim charging orders, the ruling reads, upon the claimant's application by 5 applications, notices dated 17th March for charging orders in respect of the properties I've mentioned, and upon the claimant's application, it is ordered that the 5 interim charging orders granted on 11th April 2023 in relation to the residential properties by Master Division annexed here to are hereby discharged. And in fact, there was an initial order by the court for these properties to be attached as part of the judgment debt awarded to GCPC Limited, this bigger Trafigura case they've been talking about. But there was some efforts by the government of Ghana, the Attorney General's office, Ghana's High Commission in the United Kingdom, in negotiating and also fighting this legal battle in court, which ended up in a final charging order by Regina House.
Okay.
And so at the time the case concluded, and after this court document that we have gotten from our sources in the United Kingdom, there's only one property that is currently attached as part of the judgment order that was given by the court. That is what is called the Regina House, and it's 69 Cheapside, London, E2 V6AZ. So, and for the breakdown is that GCPC sought to attach 5 Ghanaian properties abroad as part of the judgment debt that it was seeking the court to order. There was an initial order that granted application in terms of all those 5 residential properties, but at the end of the case, 4 of those properties were discharged, leaving the Regina House the only property that is currently attached to the judgment debt awarded GCPC and Trafigura in this matter.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. My colleague Kwekwa Sante, earlier there were concerns about the UK High Commission, Ghana's High Commission to the UK. That particular building that offers the visa services, amongst others, had been attached also. So now we're hearing that it looks like just one property now in the UK has been attached. And we are following up on that for you, and also check on the Finance Ministry on when it comes to the payment of this judgment debt, where we are with it. So they've been tight-lipped on that particular matter, but former Energy Minister Boakye Jaako says he only acted on the recommendation of President Akufo-Addo's cabinet in the abrogation of that particular contract, which has resulted in this particular $140 million judgment debt. Well, according to him, government took the decision to save the country from paying an excess capacity of $24.9 million. We've been hearing from former Power Minister Dr. Kwabena Donkor, who's raising concerns and wants a parliamentary probe into this. But Kwabena Boakye Jaako says most of his comments were ill-informed.
I believe the Ghanaian state should ask the people who took the decision to terminate.
According to his attention has been drawn to some unfortunate and ill-informed comments by Honorable Kwabena Donkor on the termination of the GPGC power purchase agreement. He says, I deem the utterances most unfortunate and irresponsible, coming from a former minister who ought to know that it is not within my power or province or that of any minister to cancel or terminate a contract of this nature. Emefa.
Well, on the substantive issue about the termination of the contract itself, what happened?
He says an interministerial committee was set up under the chair of the Energy Commission to review the fiscal and legal implication of the power purchase agreement executed by the Electricity Company of Ghana. The 18-member committee was chaired by Dr. Alfredo Fosuam Ahinkra, Executive Director of Energy Commission. The report was submitted on 5th April 2019. The report, according to him, was subsequently put before Cabinet for consideration and action. Cabinet directed that the report be further reviewed by the Attorney General. This was done. Cabinet subsequently gave it approval for the recommendation of the report to be implemented. In respect of Trafigura, the report recommended the termination of the PPA with a capacity of 107 megawatts at an estimated cost of $18 million per annum, or excess capacity of $24.9 million per annum over the contract period of 4 years. This is an emergency plan with 5-year PPA, used plan, not new. And according to him, high tariff major equipment also arrived at the Tema port for tax exemption to be cleared. And based on the 2018-2030 demand supply capacity business and the tariff rank of this project, the full capacity of this project would be excess, that's idle, resulting in an estimated total cost of 115.4 million. He didn't state whether dollars to see this within the duration of the PPA. Now, Mr. Jakun goes on to say that the likelihood of the plant being idle is further heightened by the fact that it is a pure natural gas fired turbine to be located in Tema. Based on the decision of Cabinet, I, as Minister, initiated the process by informing all interested parties of this decision and requested that the decision be implemented.
Well, so that's excerpts of the statement from former Energy Minister Boakye Ejiako there in my earlier interaction with my colleague Elton Brobe, where we've been hearing from Dr. Kwabena Donkor, former Power Minister, insisting that his earlier position was not an ill-informed one.
I believe the Ghanaian state should ask the people who took the decision to terminate, tell us why they terminated. I believe that is the route to use.
I call for him to give the explanation. I'm not saying he should be personally held responsible. He signed the letter, and having signed the letter of termination, of course, he owes this country an explanation. And my reasoning is premised on the fact that we did not even go through the termination process and captured in the agreement. If you look across 25 of the agreement, there's a termination process that we didn't go through. So we erred even in procedurally in terms of termination. But most importantly, I disagree. This was a 4-year agreement, not a 5-year, as he stated in his rejoinder. So if we can get even the tenure wrong, what else couldn't we have gotten wrong?
Well,
and if you have to terminate as a result of alleged excess capacity, do you terminate the least cost plant? Is that what you terminate?
So for you, even the reason that he is giving that Trafigura was producing excess power, which was going to cost the government almost $30 million yearly, therefore Cabinet took that decision to abrogate it, for you it's untenable?
First and foremost, Trafigura had not started producing. That is the first point. Secondly, the plant was originally meant to be at Abuaze, where there is gas. And under the contract, Ghana government had to provide the location for the plant. So the Tema issue is neither here nor there. The plant could have been placed in Abuaze, where there was gas.
Well, so that's former Power Minister Dr. Kwabena Donkor. Now, High Court in Accra today dismissed an application filed by lawyers for embattled former CEO of Cocoa Board, Stephen Kwabena, seeking the court to suspend proceedings pending the determination of appeal before the Court of Appeal, and another application seeking to quash the decision of the court at the Supreme Court. The lawyers are seeking to set aside what they call an improper procedure used by the High Court in adopting the earlier proceedings of the court. Well, the court presided by Justice Abuaji Tando says the application is devoid of merit and are of no exceptional circumstances to warrant the grant of stay of proceedings. Richard Kudunyako was in court. Here's his report.
Lawyers for former CEO of Cocoa Board, before coming to court today, had filed 2 processes: a motion on notice of stay of proceedings pending the interlocutory application at the Court of Appeal against the court decision to adopt the earlier proceedings of the court. Earlier proceedings before the court was for the case to be heard on a daily basis. The second application was an application in the Supreme Court for an order of certiorari to quash the decision of the court dated the 25th day of July 2023, in which the court adopted proceedings without recourse to law. They had also applied for a perpetual injunction to restrain and prohibit the judge, Justice Abuaji Tando, from hearing the matter until the proceedings have been properly adopted. State attorneys, led by Chief State Attorney Evelyn Kelson, opposed the motion seeking to tie the hands of the court until the processes filed at the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court had been determined. She argued that the earlier proceedings were properly adopted and the court should not entertain the motion by lawyers for Dr. Stephen Opuni. Lawyers for Dr. Opuni argued that should the court go ahead to hear the case while an appeal is pending before the Court of Appeal, and while they have shown forth a service that there is an application which is currently before the Supreme Court, it will be an affront to justice and the rule of law. After the two legal battles, Justice Abuaji Tando dismissed the application to stay proceedings and ordered lawyers for Dr. Stephen Opuni to move the application. In the view of the court, there is no express order from the Supreme Court that will warrant the court to suspend the proceedings. Justice Abuaji Tando asked them to go ahead and move the application. Lawyers for Seidu Agongo made their submission supporting the application filed by lawyers for Dr. Stephen Opuni. The state prosecutors opposed the motion. The court adjourned proceedings to the 30th of October. Reporting for Joy News from the court complex, my name is Richard Kwejunya Akon for Joy News.
There's this news night here on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra and Kumasi. We're on Love 99.5 FM. It's time for business. Kojo Baka is in the studios. Welcome.
Good to join you, Emefa. Good to see you once again.
What's in business?
Well, Ghana places strength in Africa with the largest foreign direct investments in 2021 and 2022 also coming up in business. The country is reported to have lost about $50 billion through capital flight in the last 5 decades. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN, Kingdom Books and Stationery, Syntex Tanks, and Pepsodent Charcoal and Herbal.
When you want to eat, just Momo it. Tired of the long queues in the supermarket? Pay with Momo. When you really want that beautiful new blouse, just Momo it. When you want to get a trim and get fresh to impress you know who, just Momo it. When you need to pay your utility bills and domestic staff, Shani Momo. When you want to send love to the family back home, send some Momo. Join the millions of MTN Momo users all over Ghana and live life the brighter way. So just Momo it. MTN.
Hooray! The Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited's Back to School promotion is here with us once again. From the 4th of September to the 31st of October 2023, Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited is giving a generous 10% to 15% discount on all school items like textbooks, pens, pencils, erasers, exercise books, and so much more across all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Takoradi, Winneba, and Cape Coast. Parents, teachers, and students, please hurry while stock lasts. For more information, call us on 0302 764 101 or 0302 764 209 or email info@kingdomgh.com. You can also visit our website www.kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books, where quality and affordability are both assured. Terms and conditions apply.
No matter your water needs, Syntex has it all. Syntex tank was first to introduce double layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Syntex tank was first to introduce white inner layer tanks in Ghana, and now introduces the customer specs order, which will let you order any color and size you want. Syntex tanks gives you the biggest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you. So whatever your water consumption, size of project, or demand, choose Syntex tank. Syntex tank, stress-free. Syntex tank, reliable. Syntex tank, maximum guarantee. Call 0244 335 168, Kumasi 0505 555 666, or visit syntexgh.com. Syntex tank, a strong, a tough.
For over 10 years, Old Mutual has been touching lives in Ghana. Whether you're a trader or a student, an entrepreneur or an employer, or nearing your retirement, we have the right financial solutions tailored just for you. Contact Old Mutual on 030-7000-600 or visit our website on oldmutual.com.gh to learn more. And let's realize your financial freedom together. 10 years of greatness, here for a lifetime. Old Mutual, do great things every day.
Media Sambisanda Moa. It's your Ratiano, Mumu, Panet, Mufin, Podompe, Mumana Yakono. Eh, Quabna. No, Mumu wants me to be just my member in that day. And the crew, corporate moving on Podompe, so you super excellent Eba. I had a bunny to Braye, who see it in a mobile, some man I want it. Sir, I need no could you soon use super excellent Chaco, Nenry dear, and most when you could fit of that. No, what you ask you, my mother feel you. Hey, Kojo. Yeah. Pepsodent Heba and a Pepsodent Charcoal. I've had you're gonna natural.
FDIJ Jadion Katuyatu.
Are you ready for an unforgettable night of worship and praise? Get ready to be moved by the Spirit and uplifted by the music. Join us on November 11th at 7 p.m. at MTN Stands in Worship. This extraordinary evening will take place at the Grand Arena, Accra International Conference Center. It will be a night of divine harmony. We have an incredible lineup of gospel artists who will lead us in a night of soul-stirring worship. Nasi, PSA Esther, MOG, Insroma, Perez Music, Pastor Edwin Dadson, and the sensational MTN Viva Voices Choir. Come and experience the power of gospel music that will touch your heart. It's going to be a life-changing experience which promises to draw you closer to God. Mark your calendars. 11th November, 7 p.m. Grand Arena. MTN Stands in Worship. A night of praise, worship, and spiritual connection with our Maker. This is an invitation-only event. Brought to you by MTN.
Hello, welcome to the business news with me, Pius Kojo Baka. Ghana placed 10th in Africa with the largest foreign direct investments in 2021 and 2022. That's according to transactional advisors, Bridgewater Advisors. More in this report.
The country recorded $1.5 billion in FDIs in 2022, lower than the $2.4 billion recorded a year before. However, in the first half of this year, the nation bagged $275 million in value as foreign investments. $230 million out of that were foreign direct investments. China was the largest destination in terms of FDIs to Ghana. The manufacturing and services sectors were the sectors that registered the largest FDIs in the country during the period under review. In terms of employment, a total of 6,247 jobs were created. Meanwhile, Egypt placed first with the biggest FDI to Africa in 2022. It was followed by South Africa in the second position, whilst Ethiopia was third.
A Business Desk report. Ghana is reported to have lost about $50 billion through capital flight in the last 5 decades. According to a report by Professor Luhans Ndikuma, an economist at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, the loss is mainly due to misrepresentation of trade volumes. He argued that a chunk of the trade misreporting can be associated with Ghana's extractive sector. Professor Ndikuma has been speaking at the launch of the report of the National Development Planning Committee.
In the case of Ghana, we have estimated that Ghana has lost up to $50 billion over the past 5 decades. That's money that has left out of country without being recorded. Money that accumulates value abroad, but only for the private asset holders. And some of it goes through what we call trade misinvoicing, which is when traders misreport the value of either imports or exports or both. We have decided to focus on, focus on cocoa and gold because these are big sectors in the economy. And we find that in the case of gold, generally, I would say that the country is not getting its fair share.
Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has insisted that figures gathered by the government and indications from the International Monetary Fund show that the country is on an economic recovery path. According to him, his team is still working to get the commitment of external creditors for debt restructuring to enable the country get the second tranche of the $600 million from the IMF by November.
From our fund partners that they are saying that we have done our part. So you look therefore at 2017 through 2020, and you see how these matrices of growth and deficits and inflation all trending in the correct direction. Then we had this cataclysmic period, and we are picking ourselves up in a strong way. But we've done it before, and we are confident that we will. So when the fund begins to acknowledge, accept that, all of the experiences around, they haven't seen a more committed group.
Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta speaking there. Now, some stakeholders in the cocoa growing sector have urged government to stay alert on moves by international cocoa buying companies to force price down. This was after multinational companies rejected Ivory Coast cocoa pricing, citing it as high cost. More in this report. The issue gained attention after Ivory Coast's cocoa regulator said it is struggling to sell cocoa export contracts for the 2024-2025 season to multinational cocoa buying companies. According to Reuters, the multinational companies are demanding lower prices, contrary to current market prices occasioned by the prevailing supply squeeze. Ivory Coast, which is the world's top producer of cocoa, is followed by Ghana, with the two countries accounting for about 60% of the world's commodity. This has raised concerns that any move to push the prices down on the world market will invariably affect Ghana's export of the beans. By this, the country will need a fair price of the produce to pay farmers who have already been promised an increase in farm gate prices. And that's it for Business on Newsnight. Back to you, Emefa.
Thank you very much, Pius Kojo Baka, with the latest from the world of business. Well, some of your messages you've sent in. Efo Kofi Ntema says, what's the real value about this funeral of the revered Queen Mother all about? If the family is not happy with the turn of events, they can let the funeral proceed and afterwards go to court to sue for contempt. Simple. Kofi says, I hope it's that simple though, Kofi. We have this one also from Musa Abatwa in Aswase. He says, Emefa, we are demanding an independent probe on this clueless and indecisive or incentive decision, you say, taken by Akufo-Addo and Baumia's government to abrogate the contract with GPGC, which resulted in this judgment debt. So the recommendation by Justice Apawu Committee in relation to judgment debt, which was supposed to guide further judgment debt, was thrown to the dock. So you add hashtag Newsnight. I have this one also from Nana Ekuamwa Boating in Ablekuma Central. It says, did Honorable Kwabena Donko say that it is okay for them to sign frivolous contracts without thinking of the financial implications on the government coffers? The NDC are only interested in what will go into individual pockets and turn around to blame the government for judgment debt. That's the Nekuama Boating's comment. We have this one also. I'll take this one from Sena Hateka. Says, in fact, the UK High Court ruled against Ghana. They have to investigate former Energy Minister Honorable Ijako seriously for prosecution, at least 50 years imprisonment. Okay, and that's Sena's some of your messages that you've sent in this evening. Let's do sports, and Musbao is here with the latest. Musbao, what do we have?
Well, is the president. The president is the news, and it's concerning Ampem Dakwa. No, President Akufo-Addo. It concerns Ampem Dakwa ladies, and they've gotten 500,000 Ghana cedis from His Excellency Akufo-Addo ahead of the CAF Women's Champions League campaign. Now, the Ghana Women's Premier League champions, Ampem Dakwa, they received that support from the president ahead of their participation in the season's CAF Women's Champions League. The Techiman Bayside paid a courtesy call to the president earlier today as they continue their preparation ahead of their participation in the Women's Club competition on the continent. Now, Ampem Dakwa themselves sealed the sport in the competition after securing a 1-0 win over Nigeria's Delta Queens in the final of the WAFU B Women's Champions League qualifiers. They will become the second Ghanaian team to play at the CAF Women's Champions League following the participation of Hazaka's ladies in the maiden edition in 2021. Now, the Techiman Bayside, they will face the reigning champions of Asfar Club of Morocco, Equatorial Guinea's Hurricanes Football Club, and Malian top flight side AS Monday in the group stage of the competition. And the third edition of the tournament is set to take place between November 5 to 19, 2023 in Ivory Coast. So, for that's some really good update for Ampem Dakwa ladies 500,000 Ghana cedis. And why this is significant is because when they won the Women's Premier League, they got 50,000 Ghana cedis. Went to the presidency and got 500,000 Ghana cedis.
But they have the cash.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, it's a promise. It's a pipeline. Okay.
Thank you very much for the latest from the world of sports. Now, let's turn our attention to updates on the Akunsubo flood disaster. Well, it continues to significantly impact on education and some affected communities in the Volta region and other parts of the country. Some students have turned to hawking and menial jobs as a means to while away time and to make ends meet. Among them is Abednego Agbo, an 18-year-old first-year student of Komboni Vocational Technical School. He now sells what we call Aigbe biscuits in the bustling traffic at Sogah in the Southern district of the Volta region. My colleague Carlos Kaloni has the rest of the story.
Abednego Agbo, an 18-year-old first-year student studying automobile engineering, now sells Aigbe biscuits in the midst of traffic jams in Sogah. He tells Joy News how worried he is about the loss of lessons.
Our compound now is flooded. We are no more going to school. Right now, when you go to the school, you see that our department all over there is water. So we are begging the government, if not, our machines will get damaged. And when we resume school, we don't know which machine we use to do practical works again. We are not going to school, so now we don't know where to go and learn again. So as for some of us, we are at home and we are learning on our own. Before the water comes, they say we are going to write exam. So but right now, we are at home. It's left with 2 weeks to start the exam.
Abednego says he fears his dream of becoming an immigration officer in future may be in jeopardy if the situation persists.
Some of my colleagues too, some are riding motor and some are fishing in other communities. And me too, this is what I want to be doing so that at the time that the water will come down, then we'll go back to school. As for me, my vision is to become an immigration officer in future. So because of this, that's why I'm going to the school. So I'm begging the government to come to our aim and help us so that I can achieve my aim in future.
Even though floodwaters seem to be receding in some affected areas, it remains uncertain when normal academic activities can resume. Carlos Kaloni, Joy News.
Well, on the matter of the closure of schools in the Sogah area, the Regional Director of Education told us that he's giving a directive for the affected schools to run a shift system with other schools, and we've been checking on that. My colleague James Aveji joins me in studio. What did we find, James?
Yes, Emefa. So that directive have been observed by the Ghana Education Service Directorate in the Southern district. On October 20, there was an emergency meeting that was conducted, and the Education Office resolved that the Quinibeto Basic School goes on a shift at Agokpo RC school, and then the Sogah Kumboni Basic School also go on a shift at the Sogah GP Basic School, and so a timetable was scheduled for that effect, and so the whole schools go on the morning shift to 12 midday, and then the flooded school that are coming on their campus also go from midday up to 12 p.m. and so that is being run smoothly.
Okay, well, that's James Aveji giving us update on the situation there. It's not only education that has been impacted, as you may well be aware. We're told that there's increasing pressure on the outpatient department of the Sogah District Hospital, and it's compelled management to recall staff who are on leave to augment staff strength at the facility. The hospital has also become the sole reference point to patients in Sogah, part of Ada, Agave and adjoining communities due to the flooding. Well, we've been checking on the situation. We can hear from the administrator of the Sogah District Hospital, Samuel Tekbo.
Averagely, we see about 150 to 160 OPD cases per day. But as it started on Monday, we recorded a sharp increase from that figure to about 307 OPD cases on Monday, and the next day, that was Tuesday, was about 207. And as it stands now, within this week, kind of varying from 260 to 67, 270. That's the current range within this week, yesterday and today, as we are monitoring the OPD attendance.
With your current staff numbers, are you able to withstand this level of pressure?
Okay, management held an emergency meeting last week Monday, and some measures were put in place to manage those things. One was to put a stop on, annual leave. So we've stopped giving annual leave immediately, followed by informing those on leave to get themselves prepared towards calling whenever the issue becomes very serious.
Meanwhile, the Volta Regional Health Directorate has also noted that it has begun deploying mattresses to the hospital as it readies to trigger a full alternative protocol to address the challenge. Let's hear from Dr. Senanu Kwesi-Jokoto, is the Deputy Volta Regional Health Director.
We have provided additional mattresses in the interim, and we are mobilizing more beds. Should there be the need for those additional beds, we'll move them into the district hospital. So that's how we are going to manage the space. But there are other hospitals also around the enclave, tens of kilometers away though. But once the situation escalates to the point where the district hospital cannot hold it, then we would necessarily also have to activate the other hospitals that are not necessarily very close by, but can also support and soak up some of the pressure.
That's Dr. Senanu Jokoto. It's time to build up to the National Science and Maths Quiz. And it's all happening on Monday, October 30, here at the National Theatre right here in Accra, and at Achimota School, Presec, and Opokuwari SHS. They'll be locking horns. And in the heart of Achimota School, we know that an aura of confidence envelopes. They are confident that they are unwavering in their conviction that they will beat OWAS and, of course, Presec as well. My colleague Jacqueline and Sumayabo has more.
Achimota School last qualified to the finals in 2009 but lost the trophy to Presec Legon.
Achimota School has 67 points. Presbyterian Boys Senior High School Legon has 83 points.
The school has won the trophy twice in 1998 and 2004.
Achimota won the first Southern Sector competition, that was in 1994, but failed against Prempe when they met in the Champion of Champions. Achimota are the champions now.
After their last trophy, the school has suffered various setbacks, with 2020 being their closest era to clinching the trophy after they qualified for the semi-finals. 14 years after their last appearance at the finals, they are once again at the cusp of the NSMQ Championship, coming all the way from the regional qualifiers to the finale. Achimota School showcased their mettle at every stage of the competition.
Walter.
False.
You're right.
Undeterred by the shadows of the competition, they stand poised, unwavering in their conviction.
They are doing well in what they are doing, but then I think if you prepare well, and that's what we are doing right now.
With unbroken determination, the Achimotans are set to leave no stone unturned.
After the contest, Achimota School is going to be in prison because we are going to murder Presec and OWAS.
After 2 years of wallowing in the dark, will Achimota School clinch the trophy this year? For Joy News, Jacqueline and Suma Yeboah.
They say Kasayen Frama, but we'll see how it goes on Monday, October 30, and that's the finals of the National Science and Maths Quiz. But before then, Ye Behim is Adum Praise, and organizers are promising patrons a heaven on earth experience with the 14th edition of the concert dubbed the Choirs Edition. You don't want to miss it. It's happening at the Perez Dome in Jolo. There's more in this report.
Last year, sensational gospel musician Travis Green, who was the headline artist for Adom Praise, thrilled patrons with amazing performances. This year promises to be spectacular as organizers prepare to give patrons an evening to remember.
It's the choirs edition. It's the first time we are bringing together about 11 choirs under one roof to be part of a musical concert or a gospel music.
The host of choral groups with angelic voices, organizers say this year's event will be heaven on earth. Programs manager for Adom FM, Joshua Tigo, explains why you cannot miss this year's edition of Adom Praise.
If you have been to any church in Ghana or any very well organized church in Ghana and you have experienced what the singing of choirs can do to your soul, that is just one choir. If you have the opportunity to experience the same thing about 11 times more, then everybody, your guess is as good as mine. Then you can imagine what you are coming to experience on Sunday.
Joshua Tigo again with more.
Last year we charged 100 cedis for every person who wanted to participate or people who want to come in doubles. We have stepped down to 70 cedis. Look, part with 70 cedis and come for Adom Praise. And I'm sure that your life will not be the same. One thing that I keep telling people is that for those who understand spiritual things, they will tell you that when prayer fails, try praise.
So get your handkerchiefs and dancing shoes on for the wonderful experience this Sunday, October 29, to sing, dance, and praise God. Adom Praise, ye be him.
And that's how we wrap up today's edition of News Night here on Joy 99.7 FM. Bethel Praise will be there. And you heard Joshua Tigo. If prayer has failed, try praising. All roads lead to the Perez Dome this Sunday. And just 70 CDs. Come and let's praise. Adom Praise, ye be him. We have Personality Profile up next, and we are hosting His Excellency Daniel Osei, former Consul General to Dubai. Lexus Bill is in the seat. Do stay. I am Emefa Apawu. There's more when you log on to myjournalline.com. Have a good evening.